Jules Kounde suffered a red card last night playing for France against Bosnia. Reports coming out of the French capital and across multiple outlets in Spain are suggesting that this is partly due to a polluted mind, with the headline. Jules Kounde infuriated at Sevilla for not allowing his move to Chelsea to go through. Remember, he left the country. He wasn't involved in Sevilla's last matchday squad, clearly fit enough to play last night. He believed enough had been done. He believed enough had been done to get him that move that he wanted through to Chelsea Football Club. That now is something which has been confirmed to a large degree as being true. Chelsea Football Club had a verbal agreement in place with Sevilla. Sevilla pulled the rug from underneath the feet and made the deal almost impossible to go through. Almost impossible to go through. It is widely reported that Chelsea will return for Jules Kounde in January to try and get the deal concluded at that point. Remember, this is a long-term target for Chelsea Football Club, not just somebody that Thomas Tuchel has fancied for a few months. We're also delving into the Saul Niguez update today, that as I told everybody a week or so ago, it turns out to be true. Manchester United were in heavy pursuit of Saul Niguez in the latter stages of the transfer window, but the player simply chose Chelsea over Manchester United. Thus, the PR push that United only made light inquiries into the representation of Saul Niguez. We're going to touch on that and also look at the Cavani situation at Manchester United this morning. Hit that like and that share button. This is the Done Deal Show. Let's go. Good morning and welcome back to the Terrace. How are we all doing? Abs here. Thank you very much for the nice shout out. I hope you're well. Good morning, Twisted Bubba. Well done. There's a super chat here from TJB that says Sevilla negotiating and doing business in bad faith. And I think that's key to this situation here when we look at the Saul Niguez thing. Chelsea fans, I know a lot of Chelsea fans have become a little bit frustrated at times this summer with the way Chelsea Football Club have maybe gone about their business. Things slowed down. When we're signing someone, we want to do it now. We don't want to wait any longer. But I think what's really key to look at is Chelsea Football Club are not stupid. Chelsea Football Club will not be bent over a barrel. They will not be disrespected. They will not, especially when you're in no desperate need to make these signings. And for me, when I looked at the situation with Jules Kounde, I was told very early on in the window that there was an agreement in place between the clubs, a two-tiered agreement in place between Sevilla and Chelsea. The first was cash plus Kurt Zouma. If that didn't go through, Chelsea had it in an agreement with Sevilla that they would be given the time to sell Kurt Zouma. Yes, that took longer than expected, but then a cash offer would be made in the region of 42 to 45 million pounds, including add-ons. This was agreed. This is why the situation between Kounde, Sevilla, and Chelsea was relaxed for many, many weeks. There wasn't any real stress because whenever an update was made, whenever a conversation was had to ensure things were okay, all parties were informed that things were fine. Of course, then we saw the Kurt Zouma deal conclude, and all the reports, and you see this from a lot of the credible tier ones as well. The credible tier ones that as soon as Kurt Zouma left, the Kounde deal would essentially push forward and move on. That didn't happen. We have a comment here from Leith that says Chelsea missed the deadline. They didn't miss a deadline. That's very much what Sevilla are pushing out as their angle. There was no deadline set. If there had been a deadline set, those things would have been claimed and spoken about much sooner in the window. That only came about just before the Kurt Zouma deal concluded, and that was the beginning of Sevilla starting to play silly buggers with this transfer. And at the end of the day, Chelsea have done the right thing. Kurt Zouma is desperate to join. Sorry, Jules Kounde is desperate to join. He wants to be a Chelsea football player. He turned down the opportunity of going to Tottenham. So he isn't like, he isn't a player that's just desperate to get into the Premier League. He wants to play for Chelsea. He didn't pursue or push for any kind of move to Real Madrid. He wanted, at this moment, he wants to play for Chelsea with what Chelsea are doing, with what they are building. That is where he wants to be. So it puts Chelsea in a very, very strong position going into the January transfer window that they can revisit this situation. And the only way Sevilla are going to win this battle is if another party gets involved and is willing to outbid or outdo what Chelsea want to pay. That's the only way around it for them, and that's what they're hoping for. But we've seen in recent years, these kind of approaches from clubs have failed them. Borussia Dortmund being the case in point with Jadon Sancho. They played silly buggers. They played hardball. And they ended up, in the end, getting £73 million for a player that Man United 18 months prior were willing to pay over £100 million for. So they do need to be careful that they don't end up getting a disgruntled player which damages their season, which can maybe ruin the dressing room. Look, I think Jules Kounde will turn things around and behave professionally and do what he needs to do. But it certainly shows with the attitude of the player last night. A lot of the French reports considering, and this was the headline in France last night, the transfer failure polluted his mind. It left him angry. It left him frustrated. It left him in a bad frame of mind going into the game against Bosnia last night, which led to a terrible tackle, a very, very, very bad tackle, which rightfully got him sent off in the field of play. So that's what it is. This was the narrative for Man United for Sancho last summer. So let's keep the same energy. Listen, of course, there was that narrative last summer that United messed about. United didn't get the business done. Not me. You know me, brother. I stay consistent on that, my brother. For me, it's a case of let's report things as they are, as opposed to what we want them to be. And I know Neeks is, of course, having banter in relation to that. Terry said no deadline. Well, there's a deadline in the sense of it had to be done before the end of the transfer window. But these deadline things are nonsense. These deadline things are public negotiation stances being done. If Man United had offered 100 and whatever the asking price was, £109 million on deadline day for Jadon Sancho, I believe Dortmund would have accepted it. There's always a limit. There's always a limit to where someone's going to say yes. We've seen it before. It's why so many deals often get done on deadline day where they've been rejected in previous times. If you hit that figure, it gets over the line. I just believe Sevilla thought they could pull a fast one. They didn't do their homework, and Chelsea walked away. Chelsea didn't necessarily need Jules Kounde. Now it's a future-proof signing. It's going to be excellent. Romero said it. There was a deadline since so long ago, and Sevilla were never going to tell him before a week of the deadline day, as Romero and whoever that other person said. Yeah, and I understand that Fabrizio said that, but nobody was saying it 4 or 5 weeks out that there was a deadline. It came at the last moments. It came during the period that the Kurt Zouma deal was concluding. So it was true at that. Maybe they said that at that point, but they were still negotiating and they were still talking via intermediaries on deadline day. This is what was happening. So that is negotiating. So let's not get caught up in the semantics here. Equally, the likes of David Ornstein, and let's just go into this for a moment here. I know that Leaf, I know you're a Chelsea fan, you want this to be a Spurs fan, you want this to be true, but it was Ornstein that said Saul Niguez was still on. In fact, it was me the night before that says Saul Niguez was still on as well. That's what 4 British journalists told me, where very close to Chelsea Football Club as well, where Fabrizio said that deal was locked out, that deal was blocked, that deal wasn't moving forward, and it did. So I understand Fabrizio Romano said it, but he's telling you Sevilla's point of view. I'm telling you the point of view that's come direct from sources close to Chelsea Football Club, that for them, that wasn't the case. Now, if you want to believe Fabrizio on this, I totally respect your thoughts in doing that. But what I find interesting is that everybody always uses Fabrizio as their default to win an argument. Yeah, but Fabrizio said. However, people ignore the ones that he gets wrong. And it isn't because he's got them wrong. It's just the different sources telling something different. For me, based on our experience of watching Chelsea in the transfer market, they would not have chased Jules Kounde until the final day of the season, offering nearly £20 million below the asking price that Sevilla wanted. They would never have allowed the situation to go on that long for their fans to get their hopes up. They would never have given to a journalist like David Ornstein the verbal agreement information. It just wouldn't have happened. In my opinion, Chelsea don't operate like that. If you can find me the case and points and the examples of where that's happened in the last few years, I'll be happy to change my stance. But I just don't think they exist in that way. They know what they're doing. But that's my view. Champions here said Sevilla messed this up. Too greedy after a verbal agreement. A comment here from Mr. Nguyen says Marina is overrated, is what's being said here. Stop making our Chelsea fans unhappy about our transfer activity. Teeny minority on Twitter, maybe. Most are very happy. I can only go by what people phone up the show and say, my friend. You know, I can't get into the minds and psyche of every Chelsea fan. And I'm glad, Martin, that you've left this comment. People like yourself need to phone into the show more, because if 10 Chelsea fans phone up and moan about it, I can only feel that Chelsea fans are moaning about it. That's why we need more people to call in, more people to have their say. That's what we need right now. A few people talking here about Cristiano Ronaldo's record. Yeah, listen, Cristiano Ronaldo's record, absolutely out of this world. Absolutely out of this world, what he did last night. And what really impressed me, or made me happier last night about that than maybe other goals that we've seen him score, was the fact that he did it. With goals from open play. He did it from goals from open play, which made me so excited, which made me so happy, which just, I don't know, just got the juices flowing. The two great headers, good balls into the, and again, not even, the second one especially, not even amazing crosses. Not even crosses where you think, yeah, you should be scoring. They were just, the second one was a lofted ball into the box. It was his movement and his ability still to jump so high. And I watched it, and maybe it was me getting too excited, but I just thought, Man United can legitimately win the league title with Cristiano Ronaldo if he's fit. Because his goal-scoring record shows us that what he did last night is highly plausible in every single game. In every single game that he plays in, he can do what he did last night. It won't happen every game, because if he gets a brace every game, he's going to score 60, 70, 80 goals this season. That's very unlikely at 36. But it's highly plausible that he does it every other game. There is no reason why this season for Manchester United, if he plays 50 games in all comps, say he plays less, say he plays 40 games in all comps, he could conceivably score 30 to 35 goals. There's no doubt about it. And I believe he scores at least 15 to 20 goals, which are what I call new goals. New goals that we're not scoring without him, that he generates himself. Now, dependent on those kind of goals can get you through. Those kind of goals can get you through. Those kind of goals can get you through rounds of competitions into latter stages of Champions Leagues. They can win you trophies, and they can win you pivotal points. They can win you an extra 12, 13, 14 points in your title races. And if you actually sit there and think about that, let's just say Cristiano Ronaldo's ability to score goals with that extra creativity in this Man United team now yields us an extra 12 points. Just an extra 12 points as an example. If you go back to last season and throw 12 points onto Man United's total, it makes us joint top. So you sort of sit there and think to yourself, just any Man United fan doubting that we can't challenge for the title this year is mad. Last year, we lost 6 games. Yes, I think we lose less with Ronaldo in the team. We drew 11. I think we draw a lot less with Ronaldo in the team. You take 3 of last year's defeats and just turn them into draws, and you take 5 or 6 of last year's draws and turn them into wins. Suddenly, you're pushing on towards 15, 16 points, and we're title winners last year. That's how good he is. So the record, and also breaking the record as well, the highest goal-scoring international, the highest goal-scoring European, the highest goal scorer in the history of world football, about just under 40 goals ahead of Lionel Messi at the moment. And I just don't see Cristiano Ronaldo stopping until Messi does. I think he's just going to keep going because he wants to stay in front. Because he knows if he retires now and Messi plays for another 2 or 3 years, Messi will overtake him. And I just think injury pending, he's going nowhere because of that at all. Leaf here says, Romano said it a month ago, Terry. Maybe you did and I missed that one, but you're still not listening to my point here. You're using Romano's update to formulate your whole opinion, and you're ignoring the multiple other sources very close to Chelsea. All the sources that got Lukaku to Chelsea spot on before Romano did. You're discounting all of them because you want to believe that Chelsea just didn't bid the right amount of money. The body of weight and the volume of credible journalists are more in a level of an agreement or a verbal agreement, or things were like in a relaxed state and situation prior to that, you know. And I think for me, that's why for me, I'll go with the body of weight on these debates. There we go. Let's do some more of these comments here. Big up Terry, CFC fan at Iron Lady Marina. I hope you're not calling me a Chelsea fan. I just call things as I see them. Fator here says, I didn't know so many Chelsea trollers appearing at this stage at this time. Must have been on having a breakfast. Look, we're happy. We got what we want. A striker and a midfielder. Koundé is just the icing on the cake. And I think that's absolutely it. In relation to that. It's one of those things. Interestingly as well today, I've read a number of stories again about the situation with Saul Niguez and Manchester United and Chelsea. And this is what I mean by PR being pushed. You saw Fabrizio push this line day in, day out. And he was being told this by Man United, I believe, that United were not officially pursuing Saul Niguez. I had a conversation yesterday evening and confirmed via message this morning with a couple of journalists. And I'm like, I want to understand what's going on here with Saul Niguez. With Chelsea the only team in the race? And they said no. When it comes to the Saul Niguez situation, it's very, very clear to them what happened. Liverpool were the front runners in the Prem. In fairness, Barcelona were the true desirable, the biggest destination of desire for Saul Niguez. That's where he wanted to go. He'd love to have stayed in Spain first and foremost. But Barca were just not in a financial situation to be able to even be able to really come to the table and make an offer or create a situation where anybody was overtly interested in talking about it. That's first and foremost. The second element is Liverpool were then the front runners. Liverpool made the first major inquiry. They had 3 sit-down conversations. When they just said sit down, whether that means face-to-face or via a Zoom call, I don't know, and equally don't care. It's just cannon fodder. That's how you know when people are rattled by the news that comes out. When, no way we saw him face-to-face. It was done by Zoom. It didn't matter. It was a sit-down, bruv. Anyway, Liverpool sat down first of all. Saul Niguez was very, very interested in coming to play for Jurgen Klopp and going to Liverpool. All of those reports, again, confirmed as true. My question to a lot of these journalists was, why are you not reporting on this? Do you know what their answer is? And this is actually the sad state of affairs now when it comes to the journalistic approach around transfer stories especially. It's, don't want to damage my base. Don't want to lose Liverpool followers. Don't want to even disgruntle the club to lose contacts within it. Which is, imagine having to suppress news to not lose contact. I mean, this is the problem I have with not journalists, but with the environment created for them. So Liverpool, James Pearce kind of alluded to this, but they spun it along the lines of Saul Niguez was asking for extortionate money. He wasn't. He just wanted to be paid what he's currently earning now. It then all went quiet. Liverpool made some inquiries. They tried. Liverpool's view was, towards the end of the window, nobody else is looking at him right now. Barca can't afford him. He's desperate for a move away. We will strike later on in the window and convince him to take a pay cut. That was their kind of approach and their idea. And I said it on the terrace. That's a sound approach. It makes sense. But then Chelsea and Manchester United really increased their attempts of trying to sign him in the last couple of weeks of the window. Both made inquiries into the representatives at around the same time, in the space of a couple of days, Chelsea had already made light inquiries in and around the same time as Liverpool had done in sort of early to mid-July time. Then what you see is the player decide that Chelsea is where he wants to go. He had his heart set on Chelsea. He was sold more to the idea of playing for Chelsea Football Club than Manchester United. You then saw the PR spin from Old Trafford. They can't deny they've been in conversation with the representation. They're not going to lie, but they just said it was light touch, no official approach. They're not talking to Atletico Madrid about the move. That was true to a degree. They weren't talking to the club directly, but they were talking to the intermediary. They were asking to be kept informed should Chelsea pull out or the deal fall through or they can't work a deal out in any way, shape or form. The problem that Man United had is they weren't willing to offer any more to Atletico Madrid than Chelsea were. So they weren't willing to do an obligation to buy. They weren't willing to buy the player this summer, meaning the player's desire to join Chelsea over Manchester United made it almost impossible for Man United to penetrate. What we've seen this summer is clubs do not want to go public with their pursuit of players that they feel they have very little chance of signing. They want to save face. Fans can't handle it. Blah, 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 blah. So, again, we've seen a lot of reports, and it was interesting conversations about that Saul Niguez chose Chelsea over Manchester United. I'm a United fan. I can take it on the chin because Rafael Varane this summer picked Man United over Chelsea. Chelsea made inquiries, and the exact same process happened. Now, the player's pretty much set on Man United. Okay, cool. Well, keep us informed with the progression. If something falls through, if something changes, we're willing to get involved. That's how these things work. Now, that intermediary approach is you trying to buy a player. Let's not allow the media to and the clubs to like pollute and dilute and play down what those inquiries are. You are trying to sign the player. You don't make them with no intention of doing it. Does it count as a rejection? Depends where you want to draw the line of rejection. Is a rejection only when a bid goes in and the player says no, i.e. Tottenham? When Tottenham put a bid in, got it accepted, and then a player says no. Is that a rejection? Yeah. Is it a rejection if I phone Jules Kounde's agent, if I phone Saul Niguez's agent and say, listen, I'd love to bring him to Man United. Would he be interested in coming? No, he doesn't want to join you. It's a fucking rejection. It's the same shit. If I go out to a girl and I say, excuse me, would you like to go out for a drink? She says, no, I've been rejected. If I go up to her friend and say, do you reckon Lucy would go out for a drink with me? No way. I've still been rejected. This just not, honestly, the PR is a mad one. The PR is an absolute mad one in relation to this. It really, really is. Do me a favor this morning and smash that like button, please, ladies and gentlemen. Really important to the Football Terrace that you get that done. Give it a smash. Share the stream across your social media platforms as well. I want to go to some more of your comments here. Rivals hating because we have Panaldo and Penandez double team and we signed 3 new refs. Okay. Look, the Penandez thing's interesting. The same fans saying Penandez and Panaldo are the same fans saying we should win the league. So just ignore it. It doesn't make it. Again, smart people do not get triggered by terrible banter. Like when the banter is that weak and it's that bad and it's that just childlike. It's like being triggered by a 3-year-old teasing. My daughter teases me all the time. She comes up to me and she goes, would you like? I say, I'll never bite whatever she's eating. She brings it up to me and then she like runs away and puts it in her mouth. Do I get angry about it? No. It's the same as this banter. Oh, you've got Panaldo. Yeah, that bothers me so much when he's going to bang in 35 goals for me. Terry, it's an option to buy. Yeah, I know. If it was a slip of the tongue, don't worry about slips of the tongue. There's no point focusing on them. People are so interested. It doesn't matter. We all know what it is. If a slip of the tongue comes out, a slip of the tongue comes out. Simple as that for me. Let's have a look at some more of your comments. Only clowns will believe the Saul rumors. There's no way Liverpool will pay Saul more than Van Dijk. Makes no sense. Well, that means the rumors are absolutely true then, doesn't it, mate? You inquired and you weren't prepared to pay him the wages that he wanted, so you walked away. There's no other claim being made. It's you in your comment there is literally just confirmed the rumor. You've confirmed exactly what I've said for 7 weeks. Liverpool wanted him. Saul Niguez would join. but Liverpool were not prepared to pay the salary. You have just confirmed the rumor in your own comment. I don't mean to laugh, but that's what I mean. There's so much like PR. People are lost. And the reason you get lost in PR, it's like being lost in your own lies. And when you lie enough and enough and enough and enough, eventually you forget what the original lie was. And that's what I see from people. It's as simple as that. You know, you will never persuade Terry that Ronaldo is not the GOAT, even though he is wrong. It's not about convincing me I'm wrong. It's about presenting a sound enough argument to convince me that he's not. That doesn't just include the eye test. I don't care. The eye test isn't a good enough barometer because it's a preference. Preferences are not great arguments. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder. Doesn't make it right. What you have to base it on is partly the eye test, but it has to be based on, especially as attacking players, goals, consistency, winning medals. Individual awards you can start to throw in there as well. That's it. And for me, Ronaldo, he's done it in multiple countries. The highest ever goal scorer, the highest international goal scorer, the highest Champions League goal scorer. The three-peat in the Champions League was pivotal. Maybe not in each of the finals, but in his club getting to them finals, he was there. You know, he's done it at the highest level, you know, and that's why I put him into that space. Simple as that. And by the way, I do think Messi's behind him, but I only think Messi's behind him by a very, 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 very small amount. It's teeny tiny amounts. Teeny tiny amounts. Let's have a look here. A few more of these comments coming through. Messi is in the Farmers League. Ronaldo is in the best league in the world. And look, I'm not going to call League R the Farmers League, but it's officially ranked now the 6th biggest league in Europe. The Portuguese league is ranked as a tougher, harder league. The Portuguese league. The Portuguese league. The Bundesliga is rated above it. And a lot of you sit here and say we shouldn't rate Bundesliga players as world class because it's nowhere near the Prem's level. So if League R is below the Bundesliga, and half of you that watch the Terrace don't rate the Bundesliga as being that good, if this season Ronaldo scores 30 goals for Man United and Messi scores 30 goals for League R, there's no comparison about the level of performance, right? This is where everybody's arguments and logic fall down. Because they try to win every single battle rather than just having one sustained logic throughout and picking the battles they try to win. You cannot claim that the Premier League is the best league in the world. And if Ronaldo scores 25 league goals this season and Messi scores 25 league goals this season, say it's equal. It can't be equal. It can never be equal if you think one league is better than the other. You know? If I get into the boxing ring with Jake Paul and box his head off, good achievement. It's not the same as boxing off Canelo's head. There's different levels to the game, you know? And that's what I see here. You actually seen that with Jake Paul. Jake Paul was beaten, arguably this weekend. I don't know. I thought Tyron Woodley boxed better, just didn't do enough work. But he's beating MMA fighters in the ring and ex-basketball players in the ring. And he hasn't fought a boxer. So we don't know how good a boxer he is until we see him fight an actual boxer. It's just the same thing works here. That's where my logic comes in anyway. And if you want to challenge it. But I stand by what I say, my friends. I stand by it. There is no difference between Ronaldo and Messi. Messi leaving Barca is death to the club loyalty leaving Barca is death to club loyalty from the players' side. Is what Andre there believes. Well, how you doing, my buddy? Not long time no speak, actually. Not seen you on a stream in a while. Go look at some of the stadiums in League R. Championship teams have a better infrastructure. I can see a merger of La Liga and Serie A down the... What? You think the Spanish and the Italian leagues will merge? Where's that come from? They're not even... Are they even connecting countries? My geography is awful. Like, when I don't think they are. They even adjoining countries. I could imagine if you said, like, Austria and Germany, I can kind of get that. Maybe they touch slightly. I'm just going to look at a map now because I don't know if they do. No, they can't do. They absolutely can't do. They're nowhere near each other, Terry. Nowhere near each other. In my head, I couldn't work out how. I know that like Italy goes to France, and I was like, I weren't sure how far the Spanish border and the Italian borders were on France. Nowhere. They are literally so far away from each other. Just in my head, I wasn't too sure how far away it was. I can't see it. I don't get it. I don't get why that would be a connection. Spain and Portugal. Again, Spain and Portugal merging. Again, I don't see it happening, but I'd go, okay, like they're adjoining countries, maybe. Like, maybe. But I definitely know they're different countries. I just didn't know how close. Like, I thought maybe, even if there was like a slight tip where the countries meet slightly, but there isn't. I just couldn't quite work it out because, in fairness, I've never really studied the maps. Like, sometimes people say, where is a country? Like, I think I know where it is. I don't really spend a lot of time looking at maps, so I don't quite know. One of them ones. There's a comment here that says Chelsea should sign. I'm not reading it out. I'm not reading it out. I'm not reading it out. Nice try. Nice try, my buddy. Nice try, my old friend. But I'm not reading it out. It isn't happening. It isn't happening. Terry, R9 over Christina. We're doing some tiering shows this week, and I think I've already just now worked out what my first tiering show is going to be about. Has to be about goats. We've got to do a tiering show, and it's going to be tonight. We're tiering the goats tonight. We're tiering the goats tonight on the terrace. We're tiering the goats tonight on the terrace. We're tiering the goats tonight. It's got to be done. We're tiering goats. We're tiering goats. Part of the goats. Got to do the goats. Has to be done. Has to be done. Let's have a look here at some more of these comments. R9 retired a lot. R9, again, we've got to set the premise tonight. What we're going to do when we tier is we're going to spend the first part of the show debating what makes you the GOAT, what the criterias are, and then we structure on it. The problem most people have is that, again, people will chop and change their morality, their opinions, their logic to win an argument. Because you'll see someone that wants R9 will say, nah, it's all about how good people were at their peak, like at their best, in one argument. And then it will move on to another two players, and it'll be, nah, it's all about longevity. It's all about longevity. It's all about longevity. Now, it's like you'll get a Liverpool fan now. It'll be like, nah, best midfielder, man. You've got to put their medals on the table. Got to put their medals on the table. But yeah, they're talking Scholes, Gerrard. They don't ask for medals. That's my point. So we're gonna set the premise, set the rules first, and then debate. Because I ain't having no flippy floppers on the terrace. We ain't no weak people here. Lukaku is not R9. He's L9. Yeah, I do love how they've thrown that in. It's like they've done RL9, but the L is really small. Like sometimes like the L is like a lowercase L and it's pushed really close to the R so no one can see it. Goats in their relative positions. No goats. We're just picking the best football players of all time. I'm doing the short list. We're going to tier them tonight on a football terrace. It's got to be done. I'm going to actually put it into the WhatsApp group right now. I'm going to do this right now. Tiering goats tonight. That's what we're doing. I'm putting it into the WhatsApp group. Who's in? I'm actually cap locking this stuff. We're doing it now. I'm buzzing about that as a show tonight. It's going to be a good show tonight. Gonna do a good show tonight. It's going to be a big show tonight. But England are playing. So we should do it before the England game or after the England game. What does everybody reckon? What do the viewers think? And I want you all there, by the way. Everyone wants in. Have hope wants to be in. Ram wants to be in. David just said he's going to be in. Oh, they're all responding now. I put messages in some days, and these guys don't respond now. Oh, we want to come in. Before, after, before. All right. Well, we'll see what time everyone's available, and we'll run it. We'll run it from there. Maldini should be on the list. Ram, let's do this. We're doing it tonight. We're doing it tonight. And by the way, I'm getting a new mixer for my sound as well. Right? I've got a really good mixer, but the sound is so bad when it comes to StreamYard. I literally, if I buy like a headset with an earphone on, a mic on it, like just plug it straight into the computer. I tried it yesterday. Sounds better than this. I've at least got like this big old mixer. StreamYard don't like it at all. So I'm going to be improving the sound really soon because it's getting on my nerves. I hate hearing it. Terry Ligue 1, I think, only have 1 or 2 Champions League winners combined. And that isn't even my point. It's about where the standard of the league is. It's the 6th biggest league in Europe. You cannot tell me. It's even with Mbappe. Mbappe will never get into a conversation of being one of the greatest of all time if he doesn't go to a Spain, an Italy, a Germany, or an England. He has to do that. He has to go to where the best leagues are. Doing it in the Champions League and internationally is fine. But when you look at Messi, Ronaldo, Zidane, Maldini, when you start going through these players, the greatest, they did it at all stages. They did it at all levels. Right back, barring a few who may come from countries that never qualify to play at major tournaments, you have to give them a pass on that. So Bobby Charlton did it at all levels. Platini, all levels. Maradona, all levels. Pele, different era, but did it to a very, very high level. Beckenbauer, higher level. Cruyff, all the levels. You've got to do it, you know? So the thing missing from Mbappe right now was doing it in one of the biggest and best leagues. Simple and straightforward as that. Terry, we're not doing call-ins this morning, but we're going to do one of them later on this afternoon. Just give you a bit of an update on the news today. Terry, R9 is the GOAT because of World Cup performances. Yeah, but he never won a Champions League. So again, the point is we're going to set the premise. I think that's a feather in his cap. But what did he do in the Champions League? How many medals did he win? What was his longevity like? And injuries are part of it. If your body breaks down, you know what I mean? It's like saying a boxer, this boxer would be the best in the world if he didn't have a glass jaw. But he does. So he isn't. How good would David Hay have been as a boxer if his body hadn't kept on getting bad injuries? We don't know. So we can't say he is where he is. He is where he is. He is where he is. So there we go. See a few more comments coming through here. Martin Braithwaite made me laugh. World Cup is worth so much more than the Champions League, is what Cole P says. Cool. And we'll discuss all of that later on the Football Terrace. It'll be a good, fun conversation. Very, very, very much looking forward to that, ladies and gentlemen. Very, very much looking forward to that indeed. But listen, everyone who's tuned in this morning, a massive thank you to each and every single one of you. We're back later on today. We'll get it all scheduled for the tiering shows. Just need to get a few things in place for that. But until next time, take care of yourselves. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again